Hello, Michael. Hello, Paulo.
Hey, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Grace.
Hi, everybody.
I hope.
Good afternoon.
I hope.
Hi.
So if we're waiting for Philip, I don't think Philip's making the meeting. I'm not sure who else is here.
Grace is here.
Grace is here. Hope is here. Stephen is here.
Uh-huh.
Darren,
Yeah.
Darren, I'm not sure. So we have quorum.
Yeah, you have a quorum. So when they will start the presentation on 4A, Mitch will have to recuse. He cannot be in the meeting. So you can participate until that point.
We still have quorum without Mitch, correct? Yeah.
Yeah, you still have a quorum.
Okay, so I have to leave the whole entire meeting.
No, I think Mitch, just when we Gustavo presents your project.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, once we get to the level of him presenting the project, you need to log off. And then
Okay.
somebody will call you to log back in when they have finished with the project.
Got it.
And then when you go to PROS, if you want to present at PROS, you're more than welcome to present. But you just cannot present before the spot or be a part of the review process here.
Mm-hmm.
Should we get started, Michael?
Sure. We're already recording anyway.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, unfortunately, I have to leave at about 5:15. So I'm hoping we can get through this. If not, maybe somebody else will volunteer to close out the meeting.
Let's plan on finishing before then.
Yeah. Okay, so let's do a call to order. Paolo here, Hope.
I can read lips.
Here.
Here. Mitch,
Here.
Stephen,
Here.
Grace.
Here.
And there is no Philip or Darren. So review and approval of the meeting minutes from 1/28/2025. I have not seen those and I was not at that meeting.
I read them through. They look fine to me. I'll move to approve those minutes.
I
Great. Do I have a
second.
and Hope seconds? All in favor. So Mitch,
Yes.
Grace,
Yes.
Stephen,
Yes,
Hope,
Yes,
and Paolo, I will say yes. So the meeting minutes from 1/28/2025 were approved. Item number 3, Michael, did any call to the audience?
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay, great. So we are going to proceed with review of 514 West 17th Street. Construction of an accessory dwelling unit, ADU in the front yard. So Mitch, if you want to take the time to log off, and I'll text you when we're done and maybe you can jump back on.
All right.
Cool, thank you.
Mhm.
And presenting this is going to be Gustavo.
Hello,
Uh,
everyone.
Go ahead, Gustavo, it's yours.
Okay. Michael, can you let me share the screen, please?
You have been before this board one too many times.
There's many more to come.
Oh, really?
Well, you know that porch that's got us right now on a
Uh,
deadlock.
I know. So you should be a co-host now. So
I can share. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so today I'm not here as the designer. I'm just here representing the owner and designer of this project. This is an ADU on 514 West 17th Street. It's a new detached ADU in the front yard on a lot of a historic Barrio Historic zone. This is what we're going to request for this one in this review, besides the regular review, is we need a variance to be able to place the ADU on the front yard of this house while still maintaining the contributing status of the back house, which is here. The development zone is marked in gray. It's the fourth lot here from west to east. Since it's on the border of the historic barrio, it's only the block itself. Within the block, everything facing West 17th Street is contributing. On the back, there are some non-contributing and there's some vacant lots. This is the site. As you can see, most of the contributing properties facing West 17th Street have a 0 feet setback on West 17th. This is the site itself where the house is built to the back of the property. So the only possibility to place an ADU is on the front yard. There isn't any other buildable area on this property. The historic property inventory form. And this is like the existing elevations of the house itself. This is the front elevation. It's a total height of 15 feet 5 inches. The whole house is pink stucco, smooth. It's wood gable ends. They're painted white. The windows are also painted white. It's mostly double hung windows. And the roof is a standing seam metal roof. We're gonna go house from house, starting at the east and all the way down West 17th. Especially pointing out this one, because we're gonna use this as precedent because of the steel frame windows, the mullion, and the way they're like the lights that it has. On this case, we're using this one as precedent, the way that it has a low, like almost square window, a foot off the ground on the front property line. We're also using these two as precedent in the fact that like part of the house is at the property line and then a second part is like stepped back, as you can notice here and you can notice here. as well as the squared off parapet roof. Same with this one. This is the neighbor right to the east of our property, and the same. There's a part that's like facing the front and then it steps back. These are the rest of the to the west. This one, the way it's like sunken into the topography is what we're going to propose with the ADU. And going back, this is the main view of the house itself. So as it stands right now, you can barely see the house in the back of the property. Like, let's keep that in mind as the proposal comes into appearance. And then the rest of the neighbors on West Korea Street. This is the site plan, again, requesting putting the ADU on the front yard, which would require a variance approved by you. The site setbacks are at a minimum 6 feet 4 inches, which under the new ADU codes don't require variance, just the front one. And the proposal is the new ADU and then a side landscape wall to continue with that rhythm of a part of the facade that's like facing the street and then a step back to create some relief and continue like the same rhythm that's already happening on all West 17th Street. You can see here the elevation from the street where the proposed ADU is, the house in the back, and that side landscape wall. This is the front elevation, what you would be seeing from the street. It's a squared off parapet roof with round metal canals protruding out. Each elevation of the ADU has like a square window that's like centered horizontally in the facade, which follows the composition of like the other houses that we saw down the street in the development zone. We're using the topography to have the ADU being sunk down into the topography, so it's at a lower height from the street than it is from the inside of the property. The street front elevation of the ADU would be 14 feet 6 inches, which is within the maximum height allowed in development zone and thus historically compatible. And then they're all steel casement windows painted white with multiple lights, how we saw in the precedents, and opening. Each one of them has a venting panel that would open. This is the precedent of the steel casement windows that are down the street. All the windows will be installed deep to have at least like 6 inches of like depth in the windows. All the windows will be fabricated by a local steel fabricator called Doug Thompson, who makes historically compatible windows. He's been working for the city of Tucson for many years, and he's doing like historically compatible windows down the Mission San Javier. So like they will be even though there will be new windows, it will be historically appropriate. The exterior texture will be a pink color referencing the neighbor and the existing house, but not an identical color or texture. So it's gonna have the main house has a smooth texture, and the ADU will have like either a more sanded texture, like to be a bit different, and a different shade of pink as well. And it will have 2 of these roof canals protruding off the front. This is how that site looks right now. And this is how it would look with the addition of the ADU and the side landscape wall. Thank you.
So I have a couple of questions.
Yes.
So why is it so, you were speaking of rhythm down the street, and all the houses to the west do have this nice little kind of sense of they're all similar heights, and you know, some of them are gable roofs, some of them are parapet, but they all kind of have that same general height. And what's the reason for the increased height on this front elevation?
Oh, we require the height because in the inside we're doing as tight as we can the lofted space. So that's where we're doing it. As you can see in this elevation, what we're trying to do with the landscape wall is to create a continuity of that height before we break it. And the height itself is within the allowed height of the Barrio Historic District, so it shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, is that, Paulo, does that make sense to you in terms of fitting into the development zone?
I think in the overall scheme of the development zone, if you consider some of the houses, if the height is the same, I think it would. I like how they have that patio wall that's trying to continue that rhythm. What is the difference between the top of the patio wall there, Gustavo, and the top of the ADU? Is that 4
So
feet?
the top of the patio wall is at 8.5 feet, and the top of the ADU is 14.5 feet. So it's like 7 feet.
14 and a half. And then some of those other ones to the west, what do you happen to know what the top of the roof is on those?
On these ones?
Yeah, like that one?
No.
No.
I have a question for you, Gustavo.
Yes.
Are you comparing the ADU to other accessory structures, or you are comparing it to the main structures?
So we've done this several times, and there are no accessory structures in this development zone that are contributing or that are listed within the contributing status. So there is no way of comparing other accessory structures. So the only thing that we can compare to is, and the only thing that's registered is the main residences.
So comparing it to the main residence on this property, I got a little bit lost in the math. So we're 14 foot 6 inches from grade, but the 15 foot 5 is from the entry level. Is that an additional 3 feet down? So we're 2 feet above. Is that working out?
Yes, correct.
Because I think that's our kind of strict rule in terms of the code is it needs to be shorter than the contributing structure. So the question to Michael and to the board would be, where does that measurement come in? Is that from the front street
Well,
level, or is that from within the property?
so according to the UDC 644A1, the measurement of HPC building height is the building height is the vertical distance measured between the highest part of a structure and the finished grade at the midpoint of the front facade.
So
I just have a concern that the ADU that you are putting here is going to overpower the main contributing house.
I agree. I mean, looks like it's going to be. I drove down 17th today and looked at the whole block, and that's going to be the tallest thing on the block.
So the goal in a lot of this is that the new property or the new structure should not overpower the main contributing structure or contributing building on the side. Based on what I'm seeing here, I don't know whether it is just me saying it. This proposal is going to overpower the main contributing structure on this main contributing structure here, which I don't know whether that is good historic preservation.
Gustavo, can you show the sections again or the elevations, please? So you're going into the ground with this on the south end, correct? Or is
Correct. No, on the north end. So we're going into the ground here. We're at, let's see, street level here, and then the site goes down 3.5 feet. So here we're 3.5 feet down.
right?
But you have a
And-
retaining condition along the street front.
Yes.
So it's all retaining along the street. It's not like it's stepped down.
Yeah, no, it's retaining.
And you're trying to get 14.6 because there's a loft inside?
There is a lofted space inside. Yes. It's tight, we know.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I
it's like,
tend to agree with Steven and I mean, it's kind of overpowering with the rest of the rhythm of that street facade.
So I have another concern. I don't know if this is in our purview or not, but all the other structures, all the other houses have a front entrance. And I see the problem with this in terms of that, you know, there's quite a drop on that driveway. But is that something we should be concerned with? So this is going to have a side entrance, no, a rear entrance.
It has an entrance. They both, you would enter through here, and the house already enters through here. You have to go down all the way down and enter here, and you're gonna enter through this side.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying, Stephen. I think if you go to page 8, Gustavo, if you would, they have kind of the front, yeah. So we have that window condition that they're proposing, and then down the stairs to the entrance. So I don't know. I don't know that that part concerns me as much as the height.
The entrance is on that center house there is to the left of the of that pole there.
Yeah, you go down here and you enter through this facade right here.
So it's
That's one building, right?
Yeah,
it's a okay. Yeah, okay.
I have a question to the board. If the height is an issue, but given that the height does fall within the height as it's measured within the development zone, how can we find something or show precedent to approve this height? Or what would be the height that you would feel comfortable with? That's like the part that I'm a bit lost.
Honestly, one of the things that you really need to do, which I don't even know whether zoning is going to allow you to do that, is accessory structure for historic preservation are compared to other accessory structure. In the event that in your development zone, you do not have any accessory structure to compare with, you can request an expanded development zone, in which the zoning administrator will be able to determine your new development zone that can give you some other accessory structures that you'll be able to use to compare. If the board feels comfortable just doing it this way, because if you had other accessory structure, I'm sure that you'll be able to get more information and more inspiration to design this thing much smaller than what you have here. This is overpowering because you are using principal to accessory, which is not allowed.
But for example, the ADU that the board allowed on 538 West 17th Street is a 13-foot high ADU. So there's just a 1'6" difference. And it used almost the same precedence. Why can this one not be allowed?
I am not saying that it will not be allowed. It's up to the board. I'm just saying that is the principle. I'm not sure. I need to see exactly, remember when we were using that one, you were comparing accessory structures to accessory structure. You were not comparing it to principal structure.
And also, sorry, Michael.
The issue you have here is that this thing is in the front, it's in the front of you, and is basically covering the contributing structure here. If this were in the backyard or on the side yard, it would be a different discussion.
So context is so important, Gustavo.
Yeah.
That's what we're kind of dealing with. Does that 8-foot wall have to be that tall? I mean, what's the reason for that? Because we have several places in the neighborhood where people have built walls or gates or whatever that kind of obscure the views of, like, from the street, of historic relevance. So I'm just wondering, could that wall be lowered?
The wall could be, we were trying to like to keep it higher so the step down wouldn't be as big and then the step up wouldn't be as big, and it would like try to like maintain a less change. We
Mhm.
believe if this goes lower, then this is gonna feel like even taller. That's why we were going with the height of the landscape wall.
Yeah, I get, that's a good point.
Yeah.
The problem with that is that there's no, I mean, it kind of doesn't read as a building. I mean, it's what you've got here is just a big, box with no detail at all. And I mean, except for the steel casement windows and the canales. And then you've got that wall that is just a very kind of, doesn't help the street, it's nothing humane about it. You know what I mean? There's no kind of human
Yeah.
scale to it or anything.
There's some other design feature, Gustavo, that you could add to this wall so it doesn't just look like a big, huge wall just standing there, especially in the front facade. The other front buildings have at least a window door and that kind of thing that breaks the rhythm of a strong, just a wall.
You know, we could look into that. We can look into adding like either some perforation or sort of something to that wall so it looks like it's part of like
Yeah, because
in
when
a
you
way
look at other
like
buildings,
in a
opening-
way
yeah.
kind of like how some of the streets on Convent are where like they have like an old wall that has like punctures but there isn't a house behind still.
Yeah, as long as as long as there aren't like contrived things put within those openings.
So, Gustavo, from the front facade, how do you see the existing historic structure, the historic building? How will, if you stand in the front, how will you be able to see that, given that it's way behind?
So right now you can't really see the house if you stand in the street. This is what you see. So
Yeah,
like
but you mean
once
because of the tree?
yeah,
Well, yeah, but trees don't last forever. We
No,
we
they
can't
don't. We don't
consider we
necessarily.
can't consider obscured views from vegetation. That's
No, we don't. We don't even accept it for screening
yeah.
because they die anytime.
that's
That reminds me of when architects.
the part that it would obscure it when it was if it was built here.
Say again.
Do you see my blue square that I made?
Make it again.
That's the part that it would obscure.
The house or the fence
The
or
house.
the wall?
The house. The fence would then go to the left of the box.
Mm.
So I'm asking the board, even if they worked on the windows on the street side, would that help with the height problem? I'm just thinking about making sure we don't send them off to make changes that don't fix the bigger problem.
Do you mean scaling the windows differently and keeping the height?
Well, I'm saying if they scaled the windows and made it more, I don't know what people were saying, like fit in with the look of the streetscape, does that help? That really doesn't help with the other issue, which is the height. Am I right about that? We have two things we're tackling.
Yeah, the height just the kind of dominates the block where,
Mhm.
and so that's a problem in itself.
That's what I'm saying.
And Gustavo, I don't think I have a problem with obscuring the house some. Yeah, I just, I mean, I think if that building, the front of the building was scaled down and then I have another question for the board. Can we, I mean, this is just a big box, basically. And I understand that there are historically, boxes, residents that are boxes, but they usually have some kind of character to them. Is it appropriate for us to ask for like a parapet cap or some kind of thing to give this some sort of soul?
If it-
And yeah, there's a box right there, but I mean, I don't know. Another big brand new box doesn't seem like it's going to help this streetscape. And I don't know if that's, again, if it fits in all the, other kind of categories of design that we need to consider, then we're helpless. But I just think it'd be nice if, like, just the house on the right here on this screen, there's a little parapet cap. Is that something we can ask for, or
I mean, I think we could. Can you go back to the elevations, Gustavo? I think what you're seeing here too is just lines on paper. I'm
Yeah.
hoping it wouldn't be as stark as that. Sometimes simplicity of design looks really nice. I think with these windows they have in there, if you're having Doug Thompson make these windows.
Yeah, and they're each 9-pane like steel casement
Yeah,
windows
I mean,
that Doug's gonna make that are gonna be recessed. So like,
yeah. So I mean, it's hard to tell with these lines here. I mean, I think I don't know
Well, what would change, Paulo?
in terms of what.
Well, in terms of, in other words, we are looking at lines on a page, but how would texture, what kind of detail are you imagining that would be built that is beyond the lines on the page?
Well, if you look at the front or the south elevation right there, I think that's a very simple Sonoran elevation there, and that works well with the neighborhood. I think it's probably going to have more rounded corners
mhm.
on it, so it's not going to be as 90-degree. And I think you can see these types of Sonoran buildings all over the place in the neighborhood, and they work just fine. And I think the window that they're going to use is going to give the structure that sensitivity, because you don't have anybody that are recreating these metal casement windows. And I know the work that this Doug Thompson does, and it's world class.
Mhm.
For me, the color scheme, I don't know about the salmon pink and the white windows. I would rather see something a little bit more organic in the barrio than those colors. I think that would help out a lot. I'm more scared of the colors than I am of the design.
Okay.
What about Paulo, what about the height from your perspective?
At first I thought it was okay, but when you look at it in the general streetscape there, I think it's overwhelming to the other buildings. It's pretty massive. And I like how the wall is set back, that screen wall is set back a foot or two, but I understand how it's a transitionary element from the lower buildings to this newer one. And I think it does help, but I do think the overall 14.6 is pretty tall.
If we were to bring it down 6 inches to 14, would the board feel more comfortable?
I don't know. I think it's going to have to be around 12, Gustavo.
I mean, it's going to have to be somewhere along the lines of the adjacent building.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, just can't. Yeah.
Anybody else feeling with the height?
I'm making this up because I don't know. Could it be taller in the back? And I don't know what's going on inside. I'm just thinking about space for a loft. Does that help?
I think it'll look strange having it taller in the back
Yeah.
than the front.
It will
Okay.
create, it will create like some sort of slope, but then we would have like either a metal roof slope or something.
Okay.
Gustavo, what about dropping the whole thing into the ground more and maintaining 14.6, but you're in the ground farther? I mean, you're retaining on one side. If you retain another 2 feet all the way around, I mean, you're not going to have ADA code to get into it, but you'll have steps.
Yeah, you'll have steps. We'll have to see how
Much room they take up.
No, and like if that's possible with ADA code, because ADU codes require ADA accessibility. So
Right. You could also have the steps on the outside to not lose interior square footage.
Yeah.
So on ADUs, is there a threshold for a limit for square footage on a footprint?
Every property in this city can do 650 square feet and up to, I think it's like 1,000, depending on the size of the main residence.
So what if you extended the footprint north? Is that something that would be workable to if you lost the loft, could you gain square footage by making the footprint bigger?
We could look into that.
How many square feet is it now?
I think it's, give me a second. I think it's written here.
What is it in
Wow.
terms of, what's the percentage of the ADU to the main structure, Gustav?
Yeah, let me find those. Give me one sec. So the ADU is 504 square feet. And the main house is 1,300.
Ah,
So you could go up to 975. That's quite a bit more square footage. I mean, it's obviously a matter of cost as well. It's just,
Yeah. And a matter of, I'm not sure we would want to, because we want to, I know it was said that trees are not permanent, but we are prioritizing the mesquite in this property, and we don't want to like build into it to have to cut it off.
Okay, should we maybe give Gustavo some direction on this? Is there any other things that anybody wants to discuss, like the elevations that Stephen and I were talking about, or Stephen brought up? Grace and
the only other thing I wanted to touch on is the variance request for the front setback. I would say I'm totally comfortable with that. I don't know about you guys.
yeah, I'm totally fine with it too.
Yeah,
There's no
that's,
choice. Yeah,
But
right.
it's a waiver. It's not a variance, correct,
No,
Michael?
no, in this case, he's going to go for a full-fledged variance. He's going to go to
Full-fledged
the-
variance because
they're
of the
going to go to
ADUs
the-
in front of the contributing structure.
Yes,
Okay.
they're going to go for the Board of Adjustment
Yeah.
hearing, which I will talk to Gustavo more about that, which I think he probably knows. You have to go to the Board of Adjustment. The code does not allow accessory structures in the front yard. In this particular case, I'm pretty sure that this is not self-imposed. It is probably that the Board of Adjustment will approve the location in the front yard. What would be your issue would just be to meet historic guidelines. As to the Board of Adjustment, I believe that this would likely be approved by the board. It's not allowed in the front yard, but there is a precedent for accessory structure in the front yard. I remember, I just cannot recall the address right now. We had done one Board of Adjustment case in the Barrio for an ADU in the front yard, and it passed through the Board of Adjustment. So,
My house is like that.
okay.
Yeah.
I have an existing accessory structure in the front,
Okay.
which I mean
Maybe
right
it was
now.
your house, I
Yeah.
don't know.
I mean,
I
it
just
was
don't-
years ago, but it's a pretty long
Yeah.
process.
Yeah, it was years ago. I just
Yeah.
don't recall the address, but I know we did that and we went successfully. So it's the same argument that will be here. I'm not worried about the variance process here. I think the process will go smoothly. It's just the historic context which should be an issue.
Yeah. So with that
Then
setback, I
the
mean,
front
I'm
setback, the front setback can be waived through the historic review process. In the barrio, most of the properties are actually on the property line, so setback issues are really not big issues in the barrio because there's a lot of precedent for that.
yeah. So we would be fine with waiving the south setback. What about the facades? Anybody have any comments on those? Hope or Grace?
I took to heart your comment about the quality windows and the softer edges. And I don't mind the color.
You don't mind the color?
No,
Okay.
Did you say that the windows would be white?
Yes.
And that is matching with the principal structure?
Yeah, the principal structure is pink and white, and we're doing pink and white, which is steel and another pink.
You try to mimic.
No, they're not mimicking because the main house is it's gonna be a different color and different texture of stucco. This one probably will be like more sanded. And the main house has wood painted windows, and this will have like steel white. So like
Okay.
it does seem a shame to paint those beautiful windows white, but that's just a taste thing, I guess.
I just mentioned so there's no force of creating a false sense of history. So
Mm-hmm.
My only other thought on the elevation is could we soften up that retaining landscape wall with some sort of landscaping on the street side? Or potentially something that would cool the sidewalk. I don't know if you guys have a sidewalk there.
there is no sidewalk here. This is just dirt that actually the neighbor uses to like drive up and like park like there.
But you have planting space in front of that wall for cacti, don't you, or something else? New landscape wall, electrical pole.
There's already like a sort of basin that's forming here. We could like enhance that basin if that helps.
In terms of the overall height, I mean, so we're trying to lower this, or is that what's gonna happen? Or at least do some studies on that? Am I on mute?
No, we
No.
can hear you. Yeah, so we have the existing adjacent buildings drawn here. It would be maybe, I don't know, I was going to say it'd be helpful to understand the height of those. I think we can understand it pretty well from this drawing though. And I do think it is reading too tall.
Okay, maybe we can do a study, even if they're drawn of like the height of those buildings, have them drawn out here and come back with a proposal on height for the board to review the next one.
Did you have any other questions, Gustavo?
No, it seems like everything else would be fine. It would just be tackling like the height and like showing either being able to reduce it or show compatibility across the street. Maybe like with a wider elevation, putting out all the heights, like showing something that it doesn't feel like so stark and understanding that with like more data.
Any board members with questions?
No.
No, okay. Um,
Well,
okay, well, Gustavo, thank you.
oh, thank you all for your time. I really appreciate that.
Thank
And
you.
we'll come back with a full review with
Okay.
these comments addressed.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. And I'll invite Mitch
Thanks.
back.
I'll let-
Michael?
Yeah, I'll let him know.
Okay,
So-
you will?
Yeah.
Okay, thank
do
you,
you
Gustavo.
plan to come back for another courtesy, or you plan to just come back for a full review?
I'll let the owner decide that.
Okay.
Great. Thank you guys.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you. Okay, so number 5, design guidelines discussion and next steps. I wasn't here last week, so can somebody just do a quick recap on what's happening?
I can.
Thank you.
We're getting there. I feel like we're in our final stretch. Everyone got assignments. I have already started to go in and do mine. I'm gonna rework the table of contents shortly. And I think we were hoping to have our meeting next week to actually do a sort of nuts and bolts final look together, you know, arriving with our homework done. But I saw that notice from you, Michael, that we can't meet next Monday. So maybe today we can set the other
Yes,
time.
exactly. Unfortunately, I did not realize that that Monday it's a city holiday, so we cannot be doing city business on the city holiday. So,
Mhm.
before today, we can at least agree on when next you think that you want to meet. We definitely cannot meet on Monday the 17th. If you want to meet any other day inside that week, let me know. Or the other
How about
Monday.
the following Monday after that?
Yeah,
The
that's what I was going to say. If you want us to do the following Monday after that, I can look into that. Let me look at the calendar here.
The
That
24th.
would be the 24th.
I'm good with that.
I am too.
I am too.
Yeah, works for me.
Okay.
Mhm.
I may have the follow meeting on that day, but I think between myself and Maria, we can split. One of us can be here and another person can be at Fort. So I'll note that down. And the assignments were sent to me and I sent it out to all the board members, so you definitely know what the assignments are.
Okay.
So we're confirming that the next meeting will be on the 24th, which will be a one-item thing, which will just be designed, which will be reserved for discussion on design guidelines only. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
So let's move on to agenda item number 6. Is there any staff updates, Michael?
Yeah. There are a couple of minor reviews that are going to happen in the barrio. Now that Grace is back and helping us, I'll probably be contacting her so we can do a couple of those reviews in the barrio. The other new information I can say is the city of Tucson finally has a historic preservation officer.
Oh,
That the new preservation officer is not going to start work until the next 1 month or 1.5 months. So somebody has actually accepted the offer. And so we're starting in the next 1 or 1.5 months. That's what I was told today. And from what I was told, it's a female. I don't know the correct name to actually say to you, but hopefully before we get to our next meeting, which is on the 24th, I'll be able to find out the name and give you the real name. I believe that is the only update that I can give to you.
Michael, are you going to help her the first couple meetings and some guidance? Is that how that's going to work, or is she just thrown into the pond?
No, she's not just going to be thrown into the pot.
Okay.
We still have to work together until such a time that she determines what she wants to do or anything like that. So
Okay.
yeah. So all the meetings, because she will be new to all what we do here. So we have to work together for quite some time before either I continue to do this or she takes over or we do it together, just as I've been doing with Maria.
So does the historic preservation officer sit in on the board meetings?
If the officer wants to.
Okay.
So, you know, when Jody was around, Jody was running these meetings and you weren't, Michael. Is that how it's going to transition to, or are you going to keep running the
No,
meeting?
I was not coming because I split the bots with Jody. Jody was coming to this one. I was going to Western University or I went
Okay.
on furlough. So it just depended on when the meetings took place. So myself
Okay.
and Jody, we split. We're doing all together. It's just that she was more coming to these ones, and these ones were occurring early in the afternoon, and the other ones were like 6:30, 7 o'clock. So I used to go for the later meetings, and then she would go for
The earlier.
this one because it was a much earlier meeting. So I don't know, but I don't know what the new state preservation officer will opt for. So I will just be wait and see. But when she comes in, I believe I'll still continue to do what I'm doing until such a time where she determines what she wants to do.
Okay. All right, great. So I guess we can move for adjournment.
Yeah, that gives you time to go to where you are going to go.
Yeah, I'm gonna be early. Unbelievable.
I'll make that motion to adjourn.
I'll
I'll
second it.
second.
I'll second it. Paolo, yes. Mitch,
Yep.
Grace,
Yes.
Stephen,
Yes.
and Hope.
Yes.
Great. All right, guys. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank
See you
you
next
all.
week.
Mhm.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Or see you in a couple
Bye.
weeks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
In 2 weeks. Going to stop recording.